Howdy folks, it's your boy here, and we back for another Fire Emblem Heroes video, and we're going to be doing something that's definitely going to rustle a lot of jimmies today. So, this has been madly requested lately. I'm not sure what the deal is, but ever since 2024, it seems like everyone's been hounding me to do a top 5 unit tier list that's updated. So, I did one of these before. We took a look at the Game 8 tier list, where they had a top 5 units of every color. So they got one for red heroes, blue heroes, green heroes, and colorless heroes. And we took a look at what they had to say, and then I put in my own thoughts, and I came up with a list for each color. This time around, we're not going to be using Game 8 as a reference point. This is all me. So, like, everything that I came up with here, everything I'm about to say and I'm about to show you guys is something that I thought about on my own. So, without further ado, we're going to go ahead and do Tacho's top 5 units in the game for every color tier list, and we're going to start with some honorable mentions because, Jesus Christ, some of these doing top 5 for is insanely difficult now with the amount of units that we've gotten and the amount of power creep that we've gotten. We're going to start things off with red. So, coming in as an honorable mention for red, we have Lucia. Now, this is a God Sword unit, and I think out of all of the God Sword units, she's the one that has aged the best. And the reason why that is simply because of the fact that they gave her kind of nihil, but not actually nihil. What was hers called again? I think it was like parity or something like that, where she just nullifies all of the effects in combat that have nothing to do with, like, actual fighting. So, like, all the bullshit is turned off. Right here, this is the sentence that says it. So, disables the following effects for both unit and target during combat. Defensive terrain effects, which doesn't work on actual terrain that they added with Divine Veins, which is really weird. I mean, that could have future-proofed her like crazy if they did, but that's not how it works. It only works on, like, defense tiles. Support effects, guaranteed follow-ups, effects that prevent follow-ups, effects that prevent counterattacks, effects that change attack priority, and then also disables specials in combat as well. This is something that only Lucia is able to do at the moment. We're probably going to get another unit that can do this at some point, but for the time being, Lucia is the only unit that can just say no to specials, and a lot of units are gaining power from using specials. Like, that's where they nullify DR or are getting a lot of their effects from. So, Lucia has aged quite gracefully. However, that's only enough to have her as an honorable mention. We have also the Duo Byleth as an honorable mention. Now, this unit is the Far Saver to end all Far Savers. Really, really busted kit. And I think it's a sign that things have gone horribly awry. If a unit as busted as this, as broken as this, like with every single effect and the kitchen sink thrown into their kit for a bait unit, and they still struggle. Like, it's insane to me that the offensive threats are just hitting so hard and melting so hard that even a unit with their capabilities is getting tossed around, right? So, like, they get Hexblade, they get defensive res up 6, they get 80% damage cut from AoE specials, they get also Surveillance Shield as a support effect on their duo skill for 1 turn. So it's a really good duo skill to just pop out of nowhere, pop in a pinch. And then on their weapon, they've got -1. They got this super scowl effect where they can reduce enemies' cooldown count by up to 3, which is always going to be 3 whenever they trigger a save skill. They have Null C built in, and then we go over here to their special, which can nullify enemies' DR, which is pretty much mandatory at this point if you're running a offensive unit or a defensive unit to counter the offensive threats. So, with them and all of their effects, all their abilities, they still end up only as an honorable mention. And then finally, we have the Caden Lindy to wrap us up for the honorable mentions. She's actually interchangeable with the number 5 unit on my top 5 red unit list. So, I think we might as well just go ahead and talk about that unit now. So, coming in at number 5, we have the Wind Tribe Dagger. Now, this unit is able to grant Pathfinder to an ally when they have ally support. And she's also just has Pathfinder herself. So it's like a mini version of Duo Dagger, but it's permanent. Unlike Duo Dagger only being active for 1 turn, you can just have Pathfinder support permanently with this unit, which is really crazy to think about. Like, having 2 units on the team with Pathfinder at all times, and you can set them up in any way you want to just make a Congo line. It's really effective. This unit is very slept on by the Like, I want to say the casual community does not really realize how good this unit actually is. But it seems like the meta slaves and the, like, hardcore players are fully aware of how effective this unit is, because I see her very often when I'm playing Summoner Duels. But you never see the casuals ever talk about her. It's always Wind Claude, right? Like, he's the guy on the Wind Tribe banner that gets all the talk, despite this unit clearly being the superior choice, in my opinion. But that's just me. I value mobility over everything else. I don't care if a unit does 1 billion damage. If they can't move 1 billion spaces as well, then they're just not good enough, in my opinion. So we have her at number 5, and like I said, she's interchangeable with Lindy, because Lindy nullifies terrain like that would hinder your mobility, so things like trench tiles and the like. Also, it works on the flame tiles, even though we thought it wouldn't at first. That was actually miswording by Insys, I guess you could say. They didn't write that down correctly. So you're able to bypass flame tiles with your ranged units with Lindy's effect, so that's very good. The reason why Dagger is first, though, instead of Lindy is because Pathfinder is always helpful, whereas nullifying trench tiles and flame tiles are situational. Okay, so coming in at number 4, we have Legendary Hinoka. Now, this unit is pretty bananas. This is where I think there's a clear-cut gap between the honorable mentions. So, Hinoka just introduced a brand new style of play when she came out, which was flyer lines. Being able to grant charge to all your flying allies in 2 spaces is, surprise, surprise, really freaking good. And then she's also giving acceleration on hit as a support to herself and everybody, not just flyers. And then she's got this, like, Omega Rain skill for who knows why. So, like, this unit is nuts. Playing up the mobility is key thing once again. Alright, coming in at number 3, we've got the Tea-Time Ira. Pretty much the most devastating player phase melee unit, I want to say, right now. It's really hard to tank this unit, and they cover the most ground for melee, being able to move 4 spaces, which there are a couple of other melee units that can do that, but none of them are packing the same firepower as this Ira is. So, let's see here. She's able to just hit the enemies twice in a row with her Flow Desperation. She can proc her special addendum, like however many times she wants to. She's able to nullify DR with that if you want to, if you give her a Leer support. And then Canto Distant, this is like the key factor here about why this unit's so nuts. Being able to Canto away 4 spaces after moving in 4 spaces is just really numb. We should not be able to do that. So yeah, they're in number 3. Coming in at number 2, we have Legendary Alencia, who is also very busted and again plays up mobility. She has the pretty much Omega Guidance 4 effect, where every ally, even Cavs, can jump in 2 spaces, and then they get no follow-up as well as a start-of-turn bonus, instead of a drive bonus, as with Guidance 4 and Soaring Guidance. Then she also does all stats -4 as another Omega Rain skill, similar to Hinoka's, except Hinoka's is in 3 columns and 3 rows, while Alencia's is all foes in 4 spaces, which is actually a little bit better. So, yeah, I mean, this unit's nuts, and then she just got even better with the addition of No Quarter. So now she just nullifies DR on her own. She hits you 4 times in a row. She is just as much of a threat as the units that can warp in with her effect. And then coming in at number 1, surprise, surprise, probably the most offensive unit ever. So, like, this, yeah. Do I even need to talk about this unit? They just melt everything. We got super dominance. We have super damage reduction cut. Canto Rem, Duo skill gives them another action, so you can use that in very degenerate ways. I've dominated people on Aether Raids with this, like, so easily. She's really threatening as well in Summoner Duels. Like, you do not want to take a hit from this unit whatsoever. So, that's going to wrap us up for our top 5 red units. Now, let's go ahead and move on to the honorable mentions for blue. So, coming in as an honorable mention, we've got Legendary Crom here. I was actually struggling the most with the blue top 5, because this guy easily could be argued into being a top 5 unit. So, he can reposition and take a second action. That's already really good. And then his Refine and Remix were really good, so he's able to give himself bonus doubler. He powers up based on the amount of active bonuses that he's got, which is going to end up being quite a lot, considering we're in the active bonus meta. And you can give him stuff like Attack and Speed Prime, you can give him Physical No Follow-Up, you can give him Speed and Defense Tempo, Special Spiral 4, like whatever you want. You can also give him Kanto control, so he can be a really nice like Kanto and anti-Kanto unit with the amount of movement support that he gives with his assist. So just a very all-around great unit. He's aged so well. He might actually be the oldest unit in the game that is even an honorable mention or a top 5 unit, period. So definitely big ups to Chrom for that. All right, then we got Brave Gulveg. I really wanted to have her in top 5, but I mean, this one was impossible. Doing top 5 blue units right now, I think the blue pool is actually the most stacked out of any color. Because, like, all 3 of these honorable mentions we're about to see could have easily made it into my top 5. Now, Gulveg takes the second action, and she is one of the only range units that can do that. So already that's really good. Her detriment to doing that is that it gives her gravity after combat. So, like, you're locked into moving one space, but completely mitigated by having charge support on the team, which is pretty much what you're going to want to do with this unit. And she gets a boatload of DR on initiation, so it's hard to deal with her effectively as a tank. And that's going to lead us into our final honorable mention, Brave Chrom here. So this guy, I was actually thinking about moving out a certain unit and putting this guy in top 5, but I decided to just keep the top 5 the way that I thought it would be and leave this guy as an honorable mention. But again, I mean, this guy is aged like fine wine. He's able to steal people's active bonuses with his assist and then move again. Very good. Also, being a cav type that can move 3 spaces and do that is very effective. He's one of the like more threatening melee combat units. I would say behind T. Ira, it might be him in number 2 as the most threatening like melee player phaser. So definitely watch your ass if the enemies have this guy on the team. He's also really threatening as a dual phaser too, because like you give this guy Prime 4 where he's stealing a ton of bonuses from allies, and then he just charges in and starts beating your ass, and then you try to attack him, and then he's still beating your ass on the enemy phase. It's not fun, right? So like this guy is really, really good. Okay, so now we move on to the top 5. Coming in at number 5, we have the duo Satyr and Hater. Now, it may have seemed like I was really down on this unit when I saw the trailer. It might have seemed like I was down on all the New Year units, actually. The thing is, I'm well aware of how good they are, right? The thing is, they were not as busted as the Christmas banner, which is the only thing I really cared about. So it might have seemed like I had tunnel vision on that, like, banner reaction or whatever, but it is what it is. This unit's really good. I don't think they're busted, but I think they are really good. So their duo skill is able to give acceleration and times gate to allies within 4 spaces. Times gate is a warp effect where you can warp to allies within 4 spaces. So can set up a interesting like movement chain if you're able to position your units right. Not as crazy as Pathfinder. I would say like there's Pathfinder at the top, and then this would be like right below that. So I think Duo Dagger's duo skill is just a stronger version of this, but this is still really good. And their weapon has basically all of the effects that Hater had on her Golden Serpent dance effect. Or not dance, her rally effect. Where she's giving herself Kanto 1, she's giving herself Treachery, except this is better Treachery. This is stronger than the Treachery that Hater gives. And she also gives Brave Attacking to herself. So all of those effects you're able to access immediately on turn 1. This is one of the issues that I had with Hater, where her effects are locked behind the turn count. That's not really an issue with this unit, where they can just, as long as they have Times Gate or Times Grip active on a foe, they're able to just do all of their stuff right away, and that gives them an insane amount of player phase potential. This is a very hard-hitting unit. With Brave Attacking and Super Treachery, and then they can Kanto 1 themselves out of the way, it's very good. And the coup de grace here is that Times Grip is able to end the action of enemies that are in cardinal directions. I'm not too sold on this effect, honestly. Like, I don't really think this is as insane as some people think, but it is really good still. I'm not going to deny that. And if you can, like, situationally, if you can get into cardinal directions with the right unit, you can really mess with people bad with this. But that's not always going to be the case. Sometimes you may not even be able to line up with anything, and you're not able to activate Times Grip there. So that's where the duo skill comes in, so you can just get Times Gate instead of Times Grip and still get all your effects. So they're at number 5. We got Duo Thor coming in at number 4. I was very on the cusp of like knocking Thor out of top 5 for Brave Prom, but then it's like, what is the #1 way to beat this guy, right? It's this unit. You just pop their duo skill, and you turn off all of the active bonuses on the enemies in 5 rows and 5 columns. So like this is literally the get out of jail free card. This has been that way ever since they came out. So like no sleeping on this unit. I still have to have them in top 5. We've entered into the start of turn bonus meta, and their ability to deny that is something that only they can do. There's no other unit that does that. So as long as that's a thing, they are going to remain very, very useful into the future. Okay, coming in at number 3, we've got Ninja Zelgius. So probably my favorite armored unit, and one of my favorite characters to be getting the armored treatment. So I like this. I like offensive units more than I like defense. So you take a defensive unit archetype like armors and turn them into a balls-to-the-walls offensive unit. I like it. So we got Lightless Luna here. Basically, it's just non-pierceable DR tacked onto Black Luna, which is very good, obviously. He has a Brave attack on his weapon. He's got -1 special trigger. He's getting damage reduction as well, and then we also cap that off with Assault Troop so he can move 3 spaces. If you don't want him to do that, you could also just give him a save skill. He makes very good use of near save, or even far save, I guess, but I would say more so near save. And Special Spiral 4 as opposed to Special Fighter 4 is the way to go. Or get a Leer support on him so he can nullify DR, and then this guy is a boss. Like, when he's able to pop Black Luna and then get that non-pierceable DR and pierce the enemy's DR in the process, you've got a fight on your hands. You've got some trouble. So he's really good. He's my number 3 blue unit, not green. Okay, we got King Freyr coming in at number 2. This guy is just a complete savage. If we ever get a blessable King Freyr that's not the summer one that doesn't have the C skill, I feel like he's going to be on just like every team. Even offense teams value from having this guy. So you see him as mainly an Aether Raid's defense type of unit where he's nullifying penalties, but nah, dude, penalties are the game now. Like, we've entered start-of-turn bonuses and start-of-turn penalty meta, where we've got Defrez Ploy 3, we've got savage units like Duo Shamir, who inflict panic and discord, we got, like, Tea-Time Lysithia, who does sabotage, Legendary Camilla does a sabotage effect as well. Like, all of these start-of-turn debuffs are so toxic, and Freyr is the only way to really deal with all that. So, I mean, I would run this guy on offense teams if I could. If there was a way to bless him and have him on offense teams, this C skill is just as good as it gets. I don't even care what else he does. He's really good in melee combat too, but like, I don't even care. This C skill is really where a lot of his value comes from. And then, yes, he is really good in melee combat. He's getting a lot of stats. His defense can just go way through the roof if you need it to. So, very good stuff there. And then finally, at number 1, we have this bitch. I don't even want to talk about her. You guys know she's busted. Like, do we need to spend time talking about her? She's busted, right? So, all right, let's go ahead and move on. So we're going to do the honorable mentions now for the green units. This one wasn't as rough as blue in my opinion, but it was still... I still ended up leaving off a couple of units that I wanted to have on. So we're going to start with Citrine. The other unit fighting for this spot was Wind Tribe Claude, and he's not in my top 5 either, so that's automatically going to spark a lot of like Russell Jimmies in the casual community. But I've always said this about Wind Claude. He's very one-dimensional. All he really does is nuke, and we have so many units that can nuke right now that if they're not nuking and also doing like 5 other things, I feel like they're kind of falling behind a little bit. Whereas Citrine is a nuke. She's not as powerful as a nuke as Wind Claude, but she's powerful enough as a nuke, and then she's able to support allies with any number of possible bonuses. It's like whatever you can imagine to give to her, she can give to allies. She's really cool when the Headlong Rush Captain Seal is available in Summoner Duels as well, where she can just give everybody charge and Kanto support, which is really busted. So, like, I like using her then, but she's also really good in general if you've got, like, a Leer to give her charge, or, like, any number of other things. Elliewood is another common one with bonus doubler and Kanto, so knock yourself out. Citrine, the sky's the limit with her. Okay, the next honorable mention we've got is Legendary Ninian. One of the only dancers that I think is offensive enough that she can, like, get away with being a player phaser. So, like, you dance her, or you dance an ally, and then she's able to move again, and then she can attack something, and then get out of the way with Kanto. So, very good action economy with her, and it's very practical action economy as well. It's not like Duo Peony, where it's only really good when you can pop her Duo skill in a crazy setup way. It takes a lot of ingenuity and maybe even, like, just solo player experience to get Duo Peony to do the maximum potential with her. Whereas this Ninian, it's just the easiest thing in the world. Just dance, and then she can move again. She can do whatever she wants on that second action. So just very efficient, very effective, and very practical. So I have her as probably the best dancer in the game. Yeah, I don't think I had any other dancers on the list anywhere. So yeah, I think Ninian's probably just the best dancer in the game. Although the fairy dancers, like the attuned ones, and even some of the rearmed ones that have gotten, like, refine, or the regular ones, the mythic ones that got refines are pretty good too, like Plumeria. But Ninian takes it for me. And then finally, for our green honorable mention, we've got Brave Sorin here. He's able to grant assign decoy to an ally, and then they're going to be able to use the save effect. They also get all stats of 6, as well as him getting all stats of 6, and then he has a Brave attack, and then he's cutting DR with his Beast skill, Magic No Follow-Up. He can nuke enemies. He's got Flare, but you probably want to give him something other than Flare so he can do some more damage. He also nullifies adaptive damage, which is pretty cool, because a lot of the far save units happen to be dragon types. So, like, if you're dealing with stuff like Brave Tiki, or not Brave Tiki, the Bride Tiki, and she's trying to fight this guy without adaptive damage, it's not going to go too well for her because his res is very fat. So very, very cool unit. You can also run more support skills on him too. You don't have to run Time's Pulse necessarily. You can give him Kanto Control, or you can give him Def Res Ploy, and he can really put on the pain with stuff like that. So a very well-rounded unit that can do a lot of things. So this is why he's an honorable mention. Now for top 5, we've got the Arcane Lucina here. Now, again, movement is the game. I've said this many times. And with Arcane, Threema, and Future Sight, you're able to do a lot of positioning antics here. So she can swap in, and then she can move again. Unlike her daddy, when she uses her assist, she can still do her assist again. She doesn't get hit by isolation, which is one of the downsides to Change Fate with Chrom. But that's not the case with Future Vision. Also, she gets Treachery support to herself and the ally, and then we're getting attack and speed up 6, and then also we're getting damage reduction on the enemy's first attack as a status effect, which is pretty cool. And of course, just being able to do that and then move again is very strong. She's really nice in combat too. This is a really good arcane weapon. This might be a contender for the #1 arcane weapon even. So very good stuff there. She's got Snag for some debuffing, and then Alarm, Defense, and Res, so she can pretty much get all stats of 6 to play up Treachery even more, and then cancel herself to safety. So very good unit. Okay, coming in at number 4, we've got Legendary Camilla, who is the queen of the melt meta. I mean, we thought the melt meta couldn't go any further, and Insys was just like, hold my beer, right? They did not need to give her the amount of melting that she does here. This is just stupid. Look at this, 40%. What is it? 40% of the foe's attack. Yeah, really? In a meta where units are pushing like 70 plus attack? Yeah. I'll get right on that with that burn damage that she's doing. And conveniently enough, they didn't give her Flared Sparrow. They gave her Remote Sparrow instead, but if you want to, you give her Flared Sparrow and run a different C skill like Soaring Guidance or Guidance 4. Her being a flyer is just dumb, and then her B skill is equally dumb. She's able to grant damage reduction cut as a support effect to herself and allies in 2 spaces, and then she's got this speed and res -7 sabotage effect as well, which targets the nearest foe and then foes in 2 spaces, which is very good. So a lot of damage, and then she's also supporting your allies with a lot of damage. Very, very powerful unit. Okay, we got Duo Dagger in here at number 3, the Congo line unit. Really, they're just a duo button. However, their duo skill is so busted that I can't have them anywhere else. Like, you just pop that duo skill, and the amount of zoning you can do after that is just too much. it just gives you way too much power and control over the map. So they also have Pathfinder on their weapon too, so it's not like it's a one and done thing actually. Like, even after popping the duo skill, they at least still have Pathfinder. As far as combat is concerned, they're not the craziest anymore. Like, they were okay in combat when they came out, but not so much now. It's really just for the mobility support that they can grant, and because of how strong that is, they have to be in the top 5 for me. Alright, then we have Legendary Alear coming in at number 2. So, Legendary Alear is probably the only, like, Omni-Tank style of unit that I think is really good. And the reason why is because she's not a one-trick pony. She's still doing the Omni-Tank role, but then she's also doing a billion other things. She can support your allies with damage reduction negation when they proc specials, which is a really good effect to be giving. Then she also has non-pierceable DR on her weapon, or on her special effect. And she also has a Brave Attack, which is very strong, of course. Brave Attacking is one of the best possible things you can do as a bait unit. And she's also getting a lot of stats. She's really fast. She can easily win speed checks without even trying. And she's got Null C built in as well, so giving the middle finger to all of those annoying Fire Sweep units. Very, very powerful Omni-Tank. Also, being a dragon, she can get Scowl. Like, I don't know if I mentioned that already, but very, very good. And finally, at number 1, we have the Halloween Anna. Yeah, I would say this is the number 1 green unit in my opinion. I don't think there's much debate. Maybe you could argue a Leer or Dagger, but I think it's pretty clean cut. This unit is the number 1. So what is there to really say about them? They can pop their duo skill to instantly charge up Miracle. They combo that really nicely because they got Gambit 4 built in, and that's exactly what you want with Miracle. They've got Rain Snap there, so they can get bonus movement and give bonus movement to allies that are either melee infantry or just any armored type in general. And then we've got Prime 4 here. So, yeah, a lot of active bonuses are being given out here. We've got Null Follow-Up. We've got Hexblade. We're getting +1 movement. If you pop the Duo skill, you're also getting Resonant Blades and Resonant Shields. They also do this for all allies from the same titles, and their titles are Engage and Awakening. 2 of the most stacked rosters in the game. So, very good stuff. They're the only ones that get the cooldown reduction, though, but still, Resonant Blades and Resonant Shields will definitely take that. And the 99 HP healing, which is really nice. So, just a very, very powerful unit. They can dominate depending on the map, where Flyers are just dominant on every map. So, like, them being able to be an awesome unit with Snap or Guidance 4, Soaring Guidance, they can be a really excellent pivot. So, very good from them. And finally, we move on to the colorless units. So, we're going to wrap things up here. This is already going to be like a 30-minute video. I didn't plan for that, but okay, so we got Duo Elise in here as our first honorable mention. I don't really see them as often as when they came out, but they're still really good. You can pop their Duo skill to give a really effective dominance effect here. So 3 columns and 3 rows, which is better than the Bride Micaiah does. Also defensive res -7. And then them being a staff type unit, they can do a lot of other things too. So they've got Return, they've got Holy Pressure, they have Poetic Justice, and then Odd Recovery. It's pretty rare to get, like, a useful staff unit. So, like, the fact that they're a staff unit that can actually pull things off and run, like, the staff-exclusive skills is really helpful. So, that's good for them. Alright, then we got Tea Time Lysithea in here. Another really crazy damage dealer, but she's not a one-trick pony like Windclawed, in my opinion, because she does at least have the Sabotage effect and the Canto 1. I think Claude has Canto 1 as well, but he's not doing all these debuffs, and then even though she's not as crazy on the player phase as him, I would say, because she can't nullify DR like him, it doesn't even matter because this ace skill is so overtuned that it really doesn't matter. It's like, what is it, Blades Home and Dominance built into one? Something like that, right? Like, this shit hits too hard. So, you combo that with her having Desperation 4 and she can just hit twice in a row. This unit just does way too much damage. And also support debuffing too, so that's very good. And then finally, we got Duo Asker in here. Kind of a shame to have him knocked out of top 5 finally for colorless, but in light of recent colorless releases, I think it is warranted. So his Duo skill is really good. He's got a reusable one, and it just supports the entire team with Times Pulse and all stats of 6, which is very good. He's really tanky as well. He's a really good example of a unit that can pull off multiple roles, where he can be like a nuking unit if you give him Special Spiral 4 or Magic Null Follow-Up or something like that. And then he can also take hits too. He's pretty sturdy. He's got non-pierceable DR based on 20% of his defense, so that's always very good. And he's also neutralizing 1.5 times damage from AoEs. So he's got AoE protection with true defense, damage reduction, and then all stats of 5, -1 special trigger. Crazy amounts of support between his C skill and Duo skill. So just a very all-around good unit there. Okay, coming in at number 5, we've got Fallen Maria, and I guess by extension, we might as well talk about this one too. So these two units, I feel like I have to have them in top 5 right now because the melt meta is just so crazy and so far gone that it's impossible to tank anything anymore unless you have Miracle. So support Miracle, drive Miracle, whatever you want to call it, is one of the only ways you can actually live right now. So because of that, Fallen Maria and Duo Ymir are definitely going to be worthwhile to run and worthy options. I feel like I like Ymir a little bit more because her Duo skill is really good, actually. This is a Duo skill that I like. So nullifies your penalties and then heals all allies in 2 spaces by 20 HP, and it's reusable. We don't really get too many reusable Duo skills, so it's really good for action economy and summoner duels, and also as a mid-turn way to turn off penalties, it's really nice there, because King Freyr only does that at the start of the turn. This unit can do it in a pinch. Like, if the enemies pop a Duo skill in the middle of the turn that debuffs you, you could go ahead and just pop this and nullify all of those penalties they just did. So it's a really nice one for counterplay and also burning in action. And just their ability to grant the Drive Miracle is permanent. It's not like Maria's one and done. As long as your unit is over 75% HP, they can do it. And it's only once per combat, but they can keep on doing it over and over. And they're pretty good too. They can take hits pretty well. They have, what is it, -18 to enemy attack and res, which is a crazy stat drop there. They can do a lot of damage. They've got a lot of recovery. They've got some damage reduction there. So just a very, very good unit. Okay, coming in at number 3, we've got the Wind Tribe Kagero here. So they're interchangeable with another unit, which is Thief Nina. But I'm going to give it to Kagero here because Kagero has Kanto Distant, which is better than Kanto Recall. They do pretty much the same things, though. This unit and Thief Nina, I really think, are just about on par. Maybe this unit is slightly better, but it's not by enough of an amount that I would say Thief Nina is in the garbage. So they get bonus movement. They get -1 special trigger on their Duo skill. Very good, obviously. The maximum amount of reach in the game, which is 6, by moving 4 spaces and hitting from 2 spaces away. So really good stuff there. They've got a lot of DR. They've got a lot of stat swings on their weapon here. And then, of course, being able to just, like, get themselves out of danger. They've got lethality there. So Kanto Distant was a mistake. They really shouldn't have did that. All right, coming in at number 2, we've got Gulveig here. So the Mythic Gulveig, pretty bonkers unit, able to take 3 actions in a turn. So Summer Edelgard and the Winter Edelgard are not the only ones that can do that, which is pretty cool. And I guess Legendary Edelgard too, but no one talks about that unit for some reason. So Gulveig here, pretty good unit, pretty good Gale Force option. Unfortunately, you can't use her in Aether Raid's offense, which would have been amazing. But she's limited to Aether Raid's defense unless it's Chaos Season. And then in Summoner Duels, she's basically just Brave Gulveig, but with an extra action in the tank. So really good unit. Lots and lots of DR, lots of damage potential. I don't know, like, what else to really say. Flared Sparrow, once again. Occult Strike for extra melting. Just very, very powerful stuff here. And then finally, we've got Yunaka, who I think is the best colorless unit in the game. You could argue maybe Gulveig is better. But again, like, Gulveig actually doesn't have Kanto. She relies on movement by getting extra actions, whereas Yunaka just gets Kanto Distant again, which, like I said earlier, is probably the most busted skill right now, Kanto Distant. So having that, and then the amount of damage reduction that she's got in tandem with damage reduction cut, the amount of speed that she gets, and then you combo that with basically the perfect kit. We've got Flared Sparrow, Assassin Strike, and Fatal Smoke 4 all right out of the box. This unit is very devastating, and I would say she's probably just the best colorless unit in the game at the moment. So this is all subjective. This is my opinion. I'm sure if you guys are doing a top 5 list, you're going to have some completely different stuff. So let me know your thoughts in the comments section down below. But this is your boy Tacho signing out. Hope you guys enjoyed the tier list here. And I will catch you guys again in the next one.